Hi there, this is Kristen with Downtown Dry Goods. We're going to do a quick video to show you how quick and easy it is to make these little mini charm gift bags just in time for Christmas. All you're going to need is a pack of mini charms. Usually they come in a pack of 42 squares that are 2.5 inches square, one fat quarter that coordinates, and 2 pieces of ribbon that are 11 inches each. You're going to need some pins, some clips, a rotary cutter, pair of scissors, a point turner, and if you are going to try the quicker method of sewing patchwork squares together, you're going to need some interfacing, such as this P44F by Pellon, or you can use the 10 Sisters grid. The Teflon sheet is handy if you have one to keep your iron from getting gummy from the interfacing. Or you can use a pressing sheet. That's it. Okay, we're gonna get started. Lay out your mini charm pack. Just lay out your squares randomly over here. Get your interfacing where the rough side is face up, and you want it cut to 23 inches by 20 inches. The P44F comes on a 20-inch bolt. So this side's already done for you. You're just going to cut the length to 23. Now we're going to lay out the squares. Once we get them laid out like this, we're going to quickly use the rotary cutter to just trim away the excess interfacing, like so, on all of these corners. You can save these for another project, these little squares. Oops. Go ahead and do it for these as well. Okay, guys, we're back and we've trimmed away these corners of the interfacing. I have a little quick tip for getting this unit all the way over to your ironing board without losing the order of your squares. You can just fold in the edges here like that. Fold this row over, and again this side. Just be careful to kind of keep the squares in place, and then we can move this over to the ironing board much more easily. Okay, we've brought the squares over to the ironing board to iron them down to our interfacing. So you're going to want to start with one of these side panels, and don't worry if these squares come off. Just lay them back down carefully, and you just want the edges just butting up to each other at each little seam. Then grab a pressing cloth or a handy Teflon pressing sheet. Go ahead and press those down. You don't need steam for this. You could use a dry iron. In fact, I think you're supposed to. Okay, so now you've got that one done. They're all stuck down. You'll go ahead and rotate and do the next side. Okay, we're back at the sewing machine. We're going to go ahead and sew the rows and columns together. Let's start with the columns. We're going to start over here and fold this over, and we're going to sew this seam with a scant 1/4 inch. Okay, we're going to keep going. Let's do the next one. Now, this one. Okay, now we've got this long one. Flip it over. And if it helps, you can actually just use a couple of little quilting clips to hold this straight for you. Okay, we've got all the columns done. What you need to do before we do the rows is we're going to turn it over. We're going to grab some scissors and we're going to clip where the squares meet up. We're going to clip there, but we're not going to cut through the seam. So you have to be really careful not to cut through that line of stitching there. And you're going to do it every single point. That's going to allow us to more easily fold and sew these together. So now when you go to sew the rows together, you want to nest these seam allowances. So you're going to want these on this side to go down and these on this side to go up. See, now we're almost there. We just have to do the remainder of these row seams. And again, we just sewed these two down, so these two are going to go up. So we're nesting those seam allowances. You see, you're going to work your way across, just like that. Okay, now we've sewn all the rows and columns together. We just want to press it, and we're not making a quilt here, so you don't have to be real particular about the way the seam allowances are laying on the back, but you just want to get it nice and flat. Okay, now we're going to lay out our pressed piece, and we're going to get out our fat quarter that's going to be the lining, and we're going to lay that down face up. We're going to lay our squares face down on top of the fat quarter. Sorry, this way. And you can butt one edge along an edge of the fat quarter like that. So we're just going to go ahead and cut all the way around using this as our template. You can use a rotary cutter or scissors, whichever one you prefer. I like just going in and using a rotary cutter. Okay. Now what you're going to do is grab your ribbons that you cut to 11 inches each and fold back this piece of the grid, the patchwork grid, and we're going to align the ribbon up right here with where these squares meet. And make sure you're not twisting your ribbon. And you go ahead and let a little bit peek over the edge like that. And we're going to pin those. And do that on both sides. Again, make sure you're not twisted. You're lining it up to this seam right here, to the left of it, and to the right of this seam. Then you're going to tuck that down. And we're going to use a pin at each corner now to hold these pieces together so that we can go ahead and sew them together straight. You can even put a pin at each of these little corners of the bottom of the bag. We're going to take it to the machine and start sewing all the way around, except you're going to leave a little bit open on one edge. We're not going to do the edges with the ribbons on them. We're going to do an edge over here. We'll do between these two pins, and we're going to back tack here, and then this will be the hole that we turn the whole project through. So let's go do that. Now we're going to go ahead and use that scant 1/4 inch seam allowance and start at the corner here, back tack a little bit here, like that, and then use your needle down feature so that at each corner you're going to be able to just raise your presser foot and put it back down after you rotate the fabric. And this is where we're leaving the hole to turn. So I'm just going to do a few stitches and back tack and then needle up, pull it out of the machine. And we're going to take this to the iron and press it back, both the lining and the outside fabric back, so it's easier to sew it together when we turn it. Trim each corner like that. Just be careful not to cut into the stitching. And where each panel meets the bottom of the bag, we're going to just clip in and avoid cutting that stitching. Okay, now you're going to find the gap where you left your hole, sewing the two pieces together, and you're going to start turning the bag out through this hole. This is the fun part. And you're going to use this point turner to make sure all the points are out. So find your hole again. You can kind of fish this point turner through to each corner, and just make sure you have nice crisp corners and each edge of the panel. Even this edge where you have the hole, you can kind of poke the corners out here too, like that. And then we're going to fold the fabric here and sew that closed. We're actually going to go ahead and sew all 4 edges. We're just going to top stitch, so lengthen your stitch length to about 3 or 3.5, however you like it, and top stitch along about 1/8 of an inch away from each edge. Okay, we've top stitched all the top of the bag edges, and we're going to go ahead and give this whole thing a nice press before we sew all of the 4 corners together, which is our very last step. Now for the last step, we're over here at the sewing machine. We're going to flip the bag like this, and we're going to pull up each side, and we're actually going to stitch along the outside of this edge. To help us do that, we'll grab our quilting clips, and just put like maybe 2 or 3 along the edge. And we're gonna go ahead and sew approximately 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Do that to all the edges of the bag. We'll be right back to see the finished bag. When you finish that last seam, take the bag out and make sure the corners are poked out nicely, and then you're gonna just trim off the threads at each corner. You could even press this again if you wanted to at your ironing board. Try to get all the little bitty threads clipped, and then you're done. All you need is a little bit of tissue paper in there. Let me grab some. I'll show you. And it's all ready to go for your gift giving this Christmas or whenever. One more thing, guys. I forgot to mention that you can totally quilt this. I've done some that are quilted. Let me grab one that I did. I quilted it just point to point on each square. This one, I quilted it by going on either side of each seam. And then, or you could do a free motion, whatever you like.